anyway, yeah. Outreach and collaboration with the L. Bogan Center for Teaching and Learning are putting on these boot campus workshops. We put on a lot of workshops throughout the year, and this is our summer session. Our summer sessions. Then this summer we're focusing really on the hands-on. How do you do stuff? We'll talk a little bit about why you're doing it, but most of it will be how do you actually do this. So if you're really interested in the why, we would like you to come back for our sessions. We have lunchbox. We have technology lunchboxes during the fall and during the spring. That way, where you come during lunchtime and we talk about a lot of pedagogy and like why you would use these things. We will do some why, because it's almost impossible to talk about the technology without it, and you need to have some context for it. But a lot of it will be like, here's how you're actually going to do this. So that's what our goal is. And if you have questions about pedagogy and stuff, please do go ahead and ask. There are a lot of resources sitting in this room, actually, that are using a lot of amazing technologies, and it's a great place to have a conversation about it, especially during our breaks. And so if you're like, I'd really like to see how somebody has somebody actually used Google Docs in the classroom. Like, that's one of the things we're going to talk about first. Then, you can find out who in the classroom, who in our group has done that, and you can talk to them on the breaks, and we can have conversations about that. But we're going to be focused mostly on the technology for this session. So let me really quickly go over the schedule. I have it pulled up right here. We're going to start with this is the welcome, and then we're going to have collaborative documents, and then we're going to have a little break. At the breaks, the hands-on the breaks is so that you can actually stop and kind of try to do what we just talked about. If you don't want it, if you're like, I'm totally uninterested in that particular thing and I don't want to learn about it, then you can take a break or you can work on something else or ask questions. There's a lot of us in the room, and this is a good opportunity for me to introduce our whole team here. I'm Christy Boggs. We have Phineas Kelly, who's right here. He's from the L. Bogan Center, and he's going to be doing the next session on collaborative documents. Meg Van Balen Wood is my partner in crime in the L. Bogan Center. We do most of the organization for these things, or the brainstorming. Everybody else does all the work. Casey kind of is one of our crew. He's from the UDSS. He's kind of in and out of our crew. Who else have we got? Jeffrey over here, who is recording and streaming these live, and we have Igor right over here, who is he's a summer instructional designer for Outreach, and Jeff Miller. Oh, and thank you, Mary. And Jeff Miller's way back, and he's the instructional designer in Outreach. He's another one of the people that do a lot of the organizing. And then we have Mary right here, and she is way behind Mary. Mary Wehunt right here. She's the graduate assistant for Outreach. So is there anybody else? LaTanya back here is actually the one that has organized all of the actual good stuff, like the food and stuff. So a big hand of applause for LaTanya there. I think I got everybody. Great. Okay. And so we're going to go through that. We're going to do the collaborative documents, and then I don't know what we had next, but it's all right.
Before we get started, we expect that we'll have more people trickle in and out. We find that when we have a lot of people here hitting the wireless network, that Wi-Fi stalls completely. So we put little hubs around the room, and there are LAN cables on various cables. If you are having trouble connecting to the internet, feel free to plug into one of the hubs. We also have
yeah. And then finally, I want to pull this out. We have Evolution, which is our fall technology conference. It's free. It's on campus. It's 2 days. It has great stuff. But and I really want you to come. And there's little handouts over here, little cards, so you can get the address and stuff. It's on September 8th and 29th. But what I really want is, right now we have a call for proposals out for this conference. So grab a card and jump on our webpage and put in a proposal, because we would love to see some really great proposals from those of you that are really interested in doing some of this stuff. So jump on there, and you can, if you get in there and you're like, my proposal doesn't really, I want to do something that it doesn't really fit what they have down here, just throw it out there. We love really unique stuff. So we're just, whatever you think is, if you're like, I want to do a workshop on this, or I want to do something crazy. We had somebody come in and build robots once, and we had all kinds of cool stuff. So be sure to pick up a card. They're over there. We also have, let me grab one and show you. We also have, as a gift for coming today, we have some very nice little battery charger, or batteries, external batteries for devices, right? So these are for charging your phones or your iPads and stuff when you run out of power and you don't have any way to plug it in. So you just charge this beforehand, and then it's just a little battery that you can carry around. It's really small. So we have a bunch of those. So they're in those boxes over there. So be sure to pick one of those up. They're super handy, and they work really well. They'll charge a whole phone They'll charge like, I think it's like a phone and a half or something, or a whole iPad or something like that. Anyway, they charge a lot. I've never actually drained it badly. And they're also, if you like solar stuff, what's really cool is if you get a solar panel that charges USB stuff, you can charge these with a solar panel and then charge your phone. It works a lot better than charging a phone directly. I don't know if anybody cares about that. It's very exciting to me. All right. Okay. So, is there any questions before we start? We want this to be interactive. Ask questions. Jump in. You don't have to be like just sitting there and listening. And when we do the hands-on stuff, be sure that you ask one of us, ask each other, talk to each other, find out how we want to use these things. It's very helpful. Yeah, Kate. There are various places, and we can help you find a hub there actually. And if you get if all the people plug into hubs that can, then everybody else is pretty good with wireless. So that's kind of, so if you can get to a hub and plug it in, go for it. And if you can't, then the wireless will be better for every person that plugged in, and we can help you do that. All right, I think that is all. Have I forgotten anybody, my team of amazingness? All right, I'm going to hand the mic over to Phineas, and he's going to take over for now. Let me turn it off so they're not so many mics.
All right, good morning, everybody. Can anyone tell me if you've used any of the collaborative tools that we're going to work with today, specifically Google Docs? Anyone use Google Docs? All right, I like preaching to the converted. Hopefully I'll have a few tidbits to share with you that'll be new. Specifically, I'm going to show you how to set up Google Docs within Canvas, and then I'm also going to show you some of the advantages for that. To start with, though, I'm going to take a look at what I think is probably the most simple and easiest collaboration tool at your disposal in Canvas. And when I say collaboration in this context, I mean text-based collaboration. And that would be the Pages tool in Canvas. Have you all used the Pages tool in Canvas, I assume? Has anyone used it as a wiki or a collaboration tool? Nobody. Okay, all right. So this will be new for some of you anyway. So we're going to take a look at Pages, and as with all the other tools in WILE courses, we have an intentional navigation schema that we've set up, and the reason that this is gray is because we have it hidden from the students. And then we take a page and we put it into a module, like the way that we've designed this boot camp for you, so that there's a real intentional flow and narrative kind of structure to the instruction that we have. So this is the Pages tool, and I'm going to go to View All Pages. And this is going to give me just kind of a laundry list of all the pages that have been created so far in this course / group. And then I'm going to create a new page with this button right here, New Page. I'm going to give it a title. I'll just call it And then the most important part for us this morning is this setting right down here. Options. Right now, the default is only teachers. And what I'm going to do is turn it into teachers and students. And so what that means is that you can also do anyone, but for our purposes, teachers and students works fine. That means that anyone in the course will be able to write into this content page. Yes? Yeah, I guess, let's see. All on, all off. Oh, I think actually the settings are up here. Let's see. Yeah, I'm not sure. Do you mind if I just go ahead? Yeah. Okay. Oh, thank you. All right, that works, definitely. Okay, so I'm going to set that to teachers and students. And so what that's going to do is it's going to turn this page into a real bare bones wiki. Are any of you familiar with wikis or have ever used wikis in your courses? Yeah, can you give me an idea of how you used it, or maybe just a quick?
I've used them to create an online resource for personal
Mm-hmm.
created content based around the topic.
Oh, okay. So they all
Collaborate in small groups to create online resources.
great. Was that on like an external web page that just kind of stayed there, or was that within an LMS, or was it?
That's within.
Oh, okay. Great. Excellent. Okay, so one of the advantages to using the Pages tool is that if we create a collaborative page, as was mentioned a second ago, for that type of purpose, with all the other collaborative tools in Canvas, when we copy a course forward, it quote-unquote disappears because it's unique to that course and that instruction that was happening. Like, for instance, with the Google Docs collaborations, those disappear when you move it forward. But if you have something with a purpose, like say you're teaching different sections of an intro course and you wanted to continue to bring the information in this collaboration into each successive semester, then this Pages tool would work really well for that, because you can just have it be a growing resource, say, for whatever the topic area is for your course. And I have one that's already kind of set up here that I'll take a look at. Let's see. And this is just kind of a basic example of what you might use to collaborate on. Say, let's get a list of buddy cop movies going in the course, for instance. And with the way that this is set up, everyone in the course can go in here and edit. And the way that they can go in here and edit it is just by clicking on this tool right here. And they'll edit it in the exact same way that you edit this content page as an instructor. So they have access to all these different markup tools. They can add video, they can change the font, they can do all the fun stuff that you can do. And let's just add something in here. Let's any votes on a buddy cop movie? Anyone have a favorite buddy cop movie? I'm going to keep going with this exciting metaphor here, but anything? Anybody? No? Okay. Not sure. Okay. Hit save. And now there's this page history, which gives it a little more interactivity, shall we say. You can go back in, and I'm really the only person that's contributed so far, but if you had a whole course worth of people, then you could go in and see all the different revisions in this page, and you could actually roll it back to a specific version if you had to or wanted to, if you're moderating this kind of collaborative space for your students, or you could just use it visually to see who's participated in the collaboration if you wanted to have this be have an outcome that was graded for your course. Pretty basic, but something that's in Canvas and something that by default all of your students have access to. Are there any questions or comments about the Pages tool? I wanted to start out kind of slow and simple here, since I don't know about you all, but I'm trying to, which might be a good or a bad thing, I don't know. So now we're going to move into the full-fledged collaboration tool in Canvas, which allows you to work with one of my favorite tools, which is Google Docs. And those of us who started, with Canvas last fall or earlier remember another tool that was in there called Etherpad. Anybody use that in their courses? Well, Etherpad has gone away. Canvas isn't using Etherpad anymore, so right now what we have for collaborations in Canvas is Google Docs, which I think is vastly superior anyway. But the first and most important thing that you need to do in order to use Google Docs in Canvas and collaboration specifically is you have to go to your personal settings. Right now we're in the course, and the course settings are down here, as you all are probably familiar with. But what I'm going to go up to is up here on the upper right, the personal settings. Okay. And then I'm going to scroll down here, and we have to take and click on register this as a web service. And I unregistered it just so that I could demonstrate this for you. But there's this list. We can do Skype, LinkedIn, Twitter. So you just click on Google Drive and click Authorize Google Drive Access. And this is going to take me to an external site because I have my Google Drive from UH, but that's beside the point. accept. Okay, so now I have Google Drive as a registered web service, and now I can go back to my course, to our Technology Bootcamp course, and I'll take a look at the collaborations tool again, and it'll look a little bit different. Yeah, okay, so now I can start a new collaboration at will. And just so that you know, one of the, I guess it's a drawback in a sense to Google Docs is that everyone has to have a Google account. It's really easy to set up, they're free. I would venture to say that the majority of your students have them anyway. If they don't, it's definitely useful. We're not a Google school, so everyone doesn't have them, but it's really a fairly small hurdle once you start to appreciate the benefits of using Google documents specifically and just the Google tools in general. So I've registered Google as my web service in Canvas, and to start a new collaboration, I just click on this plus button up here, and since it's giving us a choice here still, interestingly, even though there's only one choice, which is kind of funny, but I'm just going to call this test since I've already created one. But we'll scroll down, and from here we can choose specifically either groups that we've already created in our course or individual people that we can create a new group out of on the fly with this collaboration tool. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add a bunch of different folks in here, and we'll see if we can get some people to jump in on the collaboration, or maybe I'll add them to this one that I already have something loaded into. But anyway, and we click Start Collaborating. And just to stop here for a second, what this does when I click Start Collaborating is it does three things. If you've used Google Docs before, the first thing you have to do is you create the document, and the Canvas integration does that. The second thing you have to do in Google Drive is name the document, or you don't have to, but eventually you have to name the document. And the third thing that you would have to do without this integration is you'd have to manually share the document with however many people you wanted to share it with. And Canvas does all three of those things automatically for you in just a single click, which if you use Docs enough, you know what a time saver that is, especially the sharing aspect of it, because if you don't have someone's email, maybe that email isn't their right email for their Gmail account, blah, 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 blah. This takes a lot of the kind of speed bumps out of collaboration for you. So we'll hit Start Collaborating. And in just less than a second, it's created this document for us. And I'm going to go back to the other document that I already created because it has some text in it just to, oh, all right. Hey, Alan, great. Well, maybe I'll just stay in this. Let me go back to the other one real quick. I'm going to share it with the whole class. So I'm going to go to my Buddy Cop Movies collaboration. This is going to just jump me right back into Google Drive. Wait, I'm going to edit. And to edit collaborations after you've already created them is also extremely easy, and I'll show you how to do that right here. So I've only shared this with one person. I decided, okay, maybe I want to share this with a whole group of people. But right now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add everyone in the course, or try to add everyone in the course to this so that we can get an idea of what a collaboration is really like with a large group of people in Google Docs. And to be honest, there aren't many tools that I would be comfortable enough opening the doors like this and seeing what happens, but Google Docs, I've been using it for a long time now. This previous institution that I was with, we were a Google school, and this really revolutionized the way that that a lot of us worked at UH when we went to Google. So I'm going to update collaboration. And I'm going to go back to this. All right. So it looks like we already have some folks jumping in. Just as a brief overview here, Google Docs has slowly improved over time with the functionality that it has. Initially, it was pretty bare bones as far as an editor, but now you can, there's a redo and undo button right here. You can actually select groups of format and paste it onto other groups. All the other pretty, bold, underline, all the other basic stuff that you're used to in Word. Where Google, I think, really comes into its own is right over here of the ways anyways, the suggesting tool. And when I turn that on, then everything that people type in is going to be saved as a suggestion, and then me as the owner of the document can accept that suggestion, and then it becomes part of the document. So it's in some way similar to track changes, but a little bit simpler to use. And you can switch back and forth between these two, between the editing mode and the suggesting mode right here. So we'll see if we can get someone to suggest something and see what it looks like. It doesn't have to be a buddy cop movie, any movie, just start typing anything in there. All right, we're starting to get some collaborators in. Please have fun with the document. Yeah, okay, excellent. So once this happens, I can take accept suggestion with this little check mark right here, and then it'll become a full-fledged part of the text. Up until that point, if I printed it out, it wouldn't be part of the actual text. But yeah, because I own the document, and the person that created the document is the person that owns the document. And as far as collaborations for students in the course, well, Meg will get into this later, but within the groups, they have the ability to start their own collaborations, and so then they would be the owner of that. One of the students that started the collaboration would be the owner of that document too. So it's kind of, and Canvas also has the ability to allow students to create their own groups and their own collaborations. That's part of the settings. So you can really open it up pretty wide to let things go if you want. Yes, and that to me is one of the most powerful aspects of this tool is it automatically saves all the time. You never have to save it. And when this first came out, I don't know, 5-6 years ago or so, that was a big deal. Now a little bit less so, but I still think it's one of the key and most powerful features of this tool. So you have people potentially all over the world working on this single document in real time at the same time, and it always is the way it should be because it's constantly refreshing, constantly saving all the time. And the other part of it that I haven't shown here is the you open up the comments bar, then it shows you everything that's going on. So you're having actually conversations about the document in real time. And then there's also chat, a live chat feature. Sorry if I'm going through all these features too quickly, but there's a lot. Looks like we've already have some people join the chat, but if you can say, so we can be chatting about the document as we're working on it. So very, very powerful collaboration tool. It's actually just up here, this little button right here. Yeah, hide chat or show chat. And since Canvas does this all for you, you wouldn't necessarily have to use this, but if you wanted to share this to different people outside of UWYO, you could do it right here. But since Canvas does all that automatically, you shouldn't really have to do it very often if you're just doing it with your course. Yes?
Version history and being able to revert. So let's say that I go in and I delete 48 hours. And then Jen comes in and then adds 3 more things. If you go into the version history and you jump back to when I deleted 48 hours, does it also delete what she added?
You can restore to that version at that time. So you have to decide which version you want to take it back to. And it will lose what is in front of that, so to speak. But it'll all still be there. So you can go to the different versions and click around. I'll show you the version. That's actually from the file menu. There's a lot of really powerful stuff, and one of them is the see revision history. And the other powerful tools on the file menu are publish to the web, which is just great, and I'll touch on that briefly in a second. But we'll click on show revision history, and it's incredibly detailed, as you see. And you can even show more detailed revisions. But then we have the chat going here. And all these tools can, you can move them around, you can minimize them. But so let's see. Oh, sure, yeah. So there we go. So that's a little bit earlier, and that's a little bit earlier still, a little slightly different. And just in our office, we use Google Docs to collaborate a lot, and also with our colleagues at Outreach. Google Docs and all the other tools in Google are a big part of our workflow, and we all have really gotten used to it, and we like it a lot. One of the other tools that I think is just an extremely powerful part of, oh, there we go. Okay, I'm going to get out of the revision history so I can get back to my full tool set.
Yeah, the reason I asked is when I first started doing Google Docs, I had my students create the joint resource list of children's books.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the students were familiar with the tool, and some were going in and accidentally deleting what other students had.
Oh, yeah, had added.
So it became rather problematic to figure out what went, because that last version didn't show what students had actually initially typed in. And so I've been hesitant to use it with large groups just because of the opportunity, I guess, or the challenge of students accidentally material.
Mm-hmm.
Did not be. And then trying to figure out a way to maybe join, version 3 with version 11. I don't know if that's even possible.
Mm-hmm.
Merge documents from different parts of the division.
What I've done with that is actually, I don't know what your version is, but I'll go back and copy everything and go forward and paste.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a really good idea. Mm-hmm.
It's not a healthy, but
But the beauty of like exactly that, get away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Exactly what happened.
the power and the Achilles heel, I guess. Yeah.
I also, so the first couple times that happens to me, I generally make that a learning experience for everybody. It's okay, so see what happens here? When you delete this on your document, you delete it for everyone. So let's, and usually it's like how many times. Or then after that, they're like, I deleted everything, I don't want to do that. And then you find out right away.
Yeah, that was my thought, so I wasn't finding out.
Right, and then it's problematic.
Then I've got anything changed.
Mary on chat was saying she wonders if there could be like a video produced on how students use Google Docs to avoid like problems like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Google actually has a pretty powerful training setup for Google Docs in general, and Docs specifically. So there's a lot of information out there, and there's a lot of self-made videos out there already on Google Docs and Google Apps. So the other thing that I wanted to be sure and touch on is the publish to the web option. And with this, you can essentially turn this web page either into a part of another web page or share it like anywhere on the web, basically. And I'm going to get into this a little bit later in a different section, but I just want to touch on this briefly. With this tool, you can publish to the web as a link or with embed code. And so I'm going to do the embed code, and I'm going to hit publish. And so with this embed code, I can take this and I can drop it right back into Canvas, and it'll be actually a live document. And I'm going to touch on that a little bit later this morning. And just so you know, there's different settings. And this one is really important. Automatically republish when changes are made. Make sure that that's checked. It should be checked by default. But then you actually have a live document that you can place on your website. One tool that's separate from Google Docs but part of Google Apps, I don't want to get too far afield here, but this is a tool that we use as a team all the time. It's called Google Forms, and I just wanted to be sure and mention that to you guys. If you're just starting to kind of get your feet wet with Gmail and Google Apps and Google Docs, really take a look at Google Forms. You can create a web-based form in literally minutes, and it automatically creates a spreadsheet that will automatically tally all the responses to that form for you in just like literally less than 5 minutes. You can create a form, either publish it with a link in an email or drop it directly onto your website or any website that you have, and it's a very, very powerful tool. Are there any other questions about Google Docs or Google Docs in Canvas that I haven't touched on? Yes. Mm-hmm. No. This is the collaboration tool is for an intentional outcome, I guess you could say, within that term. And I might have confused you when I started talking about that earlier with pages, but yeah, it would be for a paper that they have to turn in for an assignment. You have a group that has to create a group project, and they turn it into you at the end of the term. That's generally the idea. But interestingly, that brings up a really good point. And I'll go back out and show you this right now. Within the collaborations tool, you can delete it, but when you go to delete a collaboration, like say this one I just made, there's two different options. There's just delete from Canvas, and then there's also delete from Google Docs. So if you just delete from Canvas, then the actual Google Doc with all those people still in it will still be in Google Docs. So if you want it to be over, click the also delete from Google Docs. So there isn't all this something random happening out there later. I don't think it's really a problem, but it's just something that you should be aware of. There is that option. So if you wanted to keep it, say, in your Google Docs and then reuse it somehow next semester, then you could do it that way. But you'd have to intentionally do that. You'd have to not delete it wholly from Canvas at that point. Right. So you could just delete it from Canvas, or you could just leave it alone, and it would still be in Google Docs, but it wouldn't copy over into the new semester within the collaborations tool. The collaborations tool will be blank for the new term. So I'll just delete this from everything because that was like a nothing that I created. But yes.
I was wondering if you could show an example.
Oh yeah, sure. I can. I'll show you one that. So to navigate in Google, this is their new navigation system. Not so new now, but these little boxes up here. That's going to show me all of the different tools at my disposal. So I'm going to go into, well, maybe I'll just show you an active. I'll show you an active form. That would be probably a lot better than trying to create one here. So I'll go to my drive. Exactly, great point. Thank you, Meg. And this is the responses from that form that I mentioned. So the form that sits on our website is that form, and then this is the spreadsheet that is automatically created when you create that form. And I'll just go. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, this setting. Mm-hmm. And here's a form. Here's just a basic idea of what it looks like, and it's really easy to work with this. You can drag and drop questions. You can add different question types, and just literally within a few minutes, you can create a form like this. As long as you have, the text already, you can just copy and paste it into Google.
This sounds like it duplicates the survey tool.
I wouldn't say it duplicates it because the survey tool does a lot of things that Forms doesn't do. The survey tool is a third-party paid solution, and so there's a lot of things that it does that Google Forms doesn't do. We use it a lot just because it's easy, it's collaborative, we can get it done, and we can see the results immediately. But the survey tool definitely has some functionalities that this doesn't have. So. Mm. Yeah, definitely. Yes.
My understanding is to the process of versus it's like for the client, right?
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. Yeah, most definitely. Great. Well, I guess if there aren't any other questions, I guess that's all I have for Google Docs. I guess we're doing groups next. Is that right? No. Okay.
I thought I accepted this morning.
Oh, that's right.
Oh,
So time for you to play with Google Docs, get up, get some more food, take a bathroom break, and we'll start again at 10 and ask questions.
Yes.
So here when we show and when you're in the midst of a semester, it's trying to do it independently. And then there's collaboration. So I've been creating this. How do I get the people to collaborate? Oh, that's right. So here, do I just update collaboration? Or do I just drag that down? How do I do it? Oh, I see. That's what it is. Okay, that's the part. It's a simple part. So then you just update. Then you will have these people show up. Oh, so when I go here, how do I let you know that I have to let them know? Oh, but I did the trust and the right?
Right, yeah, yes.
Oh, so these three people just notify them to get on there. Got it.